meaning you can expect a few interceptions because Flacco throws them and they seem to catch them. That could be a big issue. Hey everybody, this is Levi, one of your co-hosts of the Brownie Points podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. It's a little weird because my brother unfortunately is sick and right now he can't be a part of this week. He's going to kind of try to put out a video of his own separately from his house, and I'm going to put out a little short video here from my place. So I apologize, but this is kind of how things are. Quality might not quite be the same. I apologize again for that, but we're going to do best with what we can heading into this week playing the Texans. We're not really going to cover the Bengals game because who cares? It basically played out exactly as we expected. So looking forward to the Texans game. And this is really big. So Stroud is back, and he seems to really be back. Like, he's fully recovered from the injury. He's making plays, and that always makes them dangerous. Now, the guy who's not back is Tank Dell. So looking at the offense for the Texans, here's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with Stroud, phenomenal rookie. How will he look? Everything tells you that he'll look good, but you never know until you're in the playoffs. Now, at Ohio State, he had some problems in some big games. In postseason play, he played in a bowl game and a playoff game one time. And of course, the playoff game being against Georgia, of course, played phenomenally. They ended up losing, but he played phenomenal. So there is some reason he played very well in the bowl game. Everything makes you think he'll play well. Without Tank Dell, he has one good receiver, Nico Collins. Now, you can't underestimate this guy. He really had a great year. He put up over 1,200 yards, 1,270, almost 1,300 yards. And he was dominant over that last game. And the last couple games, he was really, really good. He obviously dropped over 190 yards against the Colts. He looked phenomenal. Because Tank Dell's out, there's nobody really after that. After that, it's about like Noah Brown and Robert Woods. So this talented secondary really is left with one target. And what you probably want to look at is kind of like that classic Belichickian defense, wherein you look to take away the number one weapon, what they want to do, and then, besides that, you kind of play to your general strengths and see what happens. I expect something similar. I would think you'd see a lot of man, and then I would guess a double team on Nico, and then everyone else would be more focused on the line of scrimmage. So getting a lot of good run stopping, maybe some late pressure in there, and forcing Stroud to throw a lot, and throw two guys not named Nico Collins. And that's kind of the plan, if I had to guess. And we'll see. The one advantage to the Browns is they have a wealth of talent here in the secondary. They could do a multitude of different things with it. E.J. Emerson may spend some time with Nico, even though he's not our best corner. Nico is really, really big. He's 6'4". So you might see the big physical corner and E.J. Emerson play him. So would not at all be surprised. You might see a double team. You could see some interesting things. They could get clever with it. Maybe put E.J. Emerson at safety and use him as the double team on the corner that route. I don't know. But everyone else doesn't concern me in a man-to-man. And the advantage is if you put E.J. Emerson like Ronnie Hickman or Delpit, if he's up to playing him, we'll see how often he can play. But you double team Nico. If you feel confident about that, well then Noah Brown and Robert Woods are then covered by Newsome and Ward. And you just feel confident about leaving them on islands and just locking them down. Well, that creates major problems for CJ. Now, the running game is pretty good. Singletary is certainly a solid running back, but, nothing too crazy. About a little 4 yards a carry. Good running back, certainly not blowing everyone to the moon. You definitely don't want him to get going, but the idea being you're going to put more people at the line. You're going to look to maybe double team and then go single on everybody else. And have one safety deep. And then everything else is going to be right about that line of scrimmage because you definitely want to put the pressure on and you want to make sure that run game is very limited and it's just going to be a lot of passing to guys not named Nico Collins when you don't have a ton of other options. That's generally the idea. And that's where you want to go with. This Texans team is a team that defensively is solid, offensively, solid. The overall numbers aren't terrifying, but they have random games where things go differently. A perfect example is Nico Collins actually has 4 games over 140 yards receiving. So he has a couple solid games, a few like really big games, and then some stinkers. So last time he played the Browns, he only had 18 yards receiving. Now, Case Keenum was the quarterback. So that's a big asterisk right there because Case Keenum is not a good quarterback. So we'll see exactly what he's going to do this week. I don't think 18 yards is going to be what his final will be. But it's possible. It's certainly not going to be the same easy game when the Browns played the Texans just a few weeks back. And don't forget, part of the reason why the Browns had the level of success they did against the Texans defense is having continual chances. Because the Browns defense absolutely shut down Case Keenum, and so he just had chance after chance after chance after chance. That really helps you test it out and get things going and all that. Don't expect that same level. Now, on the offensive side, again, the Texans are a team that give up similar amounts of yards and points and everything as to what they score. If you look at their yards for, yards against, very similar. Same thing with the run game, like all these things, very, very close. What's interesting though is on fourth down, they've given up over 50% of fourth down conversions. So that is interesting. They aren't great on the fourth down stoppage. So there might be something there. You might see the Browns test them a little bit on fourth down in some situations. When you're also moving forward, you gotta think about the biggest part of this game, which is most likely going to be the turnover battle. That is the area of concern for the Browns, because you feel like, okay, they're not going to get those same cracks, but Flacco's playing well. They'll have an explosive offense because they've been the explosive offense ever really since Flacco came in, and they have weapons. They have guys. Cooper's back. Hopefully Elijah will be too. And plenty of guys to throw around to. Certainly, you're going to look to exploit Njoku and the mismatch that he is, and he's absolutely on a tear. So I expect to see a fair amount of Njoku early to make the Texans defense adjust to deal with him, and thus leaving other people in advantageous positions. But where you're concerned is you are on the road, and on top of that, turnover battle, winning that seems tough for the Browns. It seems likely that we will lose it. CJ Stroud has thrown 23 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. Case Keenum threw 3. Okay, if you combine the two for their season, it's 8 interceptions. Joe Flacco has 8 interceptions, a lot less. So, especially when you consider the fact Stroud is the quarterback, that's 5 interceptions in 15 games. Like, he just doesn't throw a whole lot of them. Flacco does. And the thing is, the Texans, they're starting 2 corners combined for 9 interceptions, 5 and 4 respectively. Meaning these are guys who have taken advantage of opportunities when they've come their way. Meaning you can expect a few interceptions because Flacco throws them and they seem to catch them. That could be a big issue. If they come in there and the Texans defense really shows up, they've got a few decent pass rushers out there. If they show up and they're doing pretty well and locking down the Browns, giving the Browns some issues, and then they get ahead in the turnover battle, that's where things can get rough. So the Browns, the big focus for this week, stay steady, stay on your mark, but most of all, you have to win the turnover battle. Ultimately, I think the Browns are well situated. They know what they're doing. Joe Flacco's playoff experience, and as such, the Browns will come out with the victory 24-17. I'll see you next week.